All right, well, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Let's just start with introduction. Like tell us who you are, what you do,
Yeah.
what's a day in your life like.
My name is Phillip Annand. I'm a student, first and foremost. After that, some blogging, a little bit of design, graphic design, freelance design. I run two projects. The first is the Madbury Club, which is an online magazine, newspaper sort of deal, glorified blog, and then a T-shirt line called the Award Tour, which I've been doing since way back in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you said first and foremost you're a student. Where are you a student?
Rutgers University, out in Jersey.
What year are you?
I'm going into my senior year, last one, final home stretch.
You were talking about how you were like spending a lot of time on blogs and forums, but as a reader first, right?
Yeah.
As a participant.
Yeah. I mean, I think I started lurking on sneaker-specific forums before anything, and then after that, it was like a transition to the Hypebeast forums, and that really was like that was the forum that really like where everything really started. It was just like, I mean, this was back then, so like Andrew from 316 was on the forums, like Lupe Fiasco was on the forums. It was like wild, like all these.
But before they were
huge, yeah. But I mean, still had that clout. Nick Diamonds was on the forum, just like all these people who had brands and like wanted to be where you wanted to be, and they were just there sharing knowledge. You could just ask them a question.
Right.
So it was like, just trading and learning all this stuff. And I always say that was like a classroom for all of us. Like, all these brands that we wear now and all these processes and these raw denim, the way you wear your jeans, like all this stuff that's like second nature now is like all that was just lessons on the forum that you just picked up.
I had no idea that even existed.
It's crazy. And that's so many people say that, but I always say it's like a writer's bench that they would have for graffiti where younger kids would come and learn from older writers.
Right.
That was like the forums. I mean, I always think I'm a student. I always think there's like another thing to learn. It's crazy because you get emails from kids and they're like, "Can I intern for you?" and da-da-da. And it's like, dude, like it's just me in my like dorm room at school. Like, I don't know where you're gonna intern. So, it's cool to have gone from the forums to like being featured on Hypebeast and doing stuff like this. But at the same time, I really still feel like I'm still learning. Like to be sitting here with someone like you is still crazy. It's not like I'm jaded or feel like I've made it to, in any way.
And then which path do you want to go to? Like, do you want to have a design firm or like a clothing line, or just be a blogger full time? Like, what would be your
I have
dream?
like a constant battle at all times because I love the internet and everything that it's like allowed me and my friends to do and the success.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, man, if this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to be sitting at a computer for the next like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
As my job. Like, that's what I'm always going to be doing.
And you don't know if that's what
And
you want.
part of me is like, man, I'd love to build this log cabin and just go chill out in the woods and like, and not stress it. But no, I think at the end of the day, I would love to do sort of like an agency that would like allow us to continue what we're doing now, and just do a kind of creative direction, consulting, really expand the scope of what we're doing. Yeah.
Which aspect, if you look at like, sneaker culture and then fashion and then music, and maybe you could throw in like skateboarding and sports too, like which one do you think has the most impact for you?
I mean, is hip hop? Can we throw hip hop in there?
Yeah,
music. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be music. I would never lay claim to skate culture in any sort of way, although it's definitely influenced me just from like a visual aspect as far as the design aesthetic. But I mean, music above and beyond anything else. Even now, what we do is almost always directly connected to music, whether it's album reviews or just reactions to new stuff on the Madbury site. So it's like, I think more than anything, there's always a parallel with music.
Right.
Even if it's just playing something in the office while you're doing work.
And when you got into this, you were in high school or middle school?
High school. Yeah, high school. Really.
And tell me about high school. Like, you went to public high school? Or?
Yeah, public high school out in Jersey.
And
Jersey moves slower than New York, so it's like they were even further behind. So I was doing, when I was wearing sneakers and all that like streetwear stuff, that was looked at as like, whoa, like that was like different. I was the only one really doing that in my school.
Yeah.
But then I started a clothing line, so that's kind of how everything started.
Out of high school?
Yeah. I printed up like 100 T-shirts and brought them into the cafeteria and sold them in a day.
Really?
Yeah, and just like quadrupled my profits. So I was like, oh, this might work out.
Where'd you print them?
I just, some local printer found in the phone book, hand drew a design. It made no sense, like the ugliest shirt I've ever made looking back on it now.
Yeah.
But and just brought them in a big box and sold them for like $10 and just flipped all these shirts. After I did that, I was like, okay, if we put a name on this, this might work out. We might be able to expand this. So I did like 4 shirts after that, a few months down the line, and just.
You know what's bugged out is like that's kind of how I started too, but I did it when I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
What made you do it in high school? What made you want to do that in high school? Because then I think when I was in high school, I was like, how do I date the cheerleader? That was like my main goal,
In high school, what I was doing, I was hand painting T-shirts at first. So I didn't have an airbrush machine. So
you were using fabric
paint. If I buy fabric paint and just paint it on, I can make shirts. So everyone will like, put my name on a shirt. We're like making money like that. But it was taking me hours to hand paint these shirts, and they're like a perfectionist, so I wasn't gonna like rush it and do a crappy job.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm making $20 off a shirt, but it's taking me 3 hours to paint it.
Right.
So then I looked for screen printing.
Okay.
I was like, okay, so if I draw one universal design and print it, make the same money.
And you had the name Award Tour then?
That first shirt I didn't even have the name Award Tour. That first shirt it said Loch Ness, and then it said the Feng Shui with Feng Shui misspelled SCH Wang. So it was like, but Loch Ness was my username on the Hypebeast forums.
Okay.
So it was just like a completely random shirt with like this big, just graphic design around it.
Right.
And then Award Tour was like the next flip after that. That's when I was like, all right, let's put a name on it.
Yeah.
And kind of push out shirts. So I tell my grandma now, like, I'm doing this online. I'm writing for this magazine. And she's like, you're still going to school to be a lawyer though, right? Like, not really.
Are you?
No. Not at all, but she thinks I am. But,
she's gonna hear this and be pretty pissed at you.
Don't watch this. But it was always college. It was 100%. I actually started out in art school because I was gonna do graphic design.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came and did like Pratt and Parsons and Visit and did that whole thing, and I was like, I don't know. I wanted to play sports still and still have that big school feel.
Right. Like a real university.
Yeah. So, and Rutgers was easy, in-state tuition, and it was like, all right.
They don't have art program at Rutgers?
They do. And that's where I started out. Mason Gross is the name of their art school.
Okay.
And I got there, and I was like, they're like reteaching me a lot of stuff that I had taught myself.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not going to sit here for 4 years and do this again.
Yeah.
If I'm going to pay for school, I'm going to learn something. And then I ended up in American Studies because it was the most interesting classes. Like the first class I took was on hippies and cults.
So you can learn about culture.
Right.
I can see how that could filter into like your work.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's a lot of like flack about the U.S. educational system. I don't know if you're aware.
Sure.
Did you feel like now that you hear about how bad it is, can you see in your high school and your experience that like, yeah, that makes total sense? Or is it like, do you not connect with it?
I think I connect more with those complaints in college.
Really?
Yeah. In high school, I feel like I was challenged, and I could challenge myself. You go up and take AP courses, and they pushed me. And I did like honors and AP always through high school, so I was like pushed in all those ways. And then I always wanted to do art, and there was always like another art class that was a step above that you had to like at my high school anyway that you had to do. And I'm like my senior year when I was doing AP art, they had us on IMAX and everything, and like running Photoshop, and it was like you're learning basically the same thing we were going to turn around and learn at art school. So I was like, I feel like they did a decent enough job preparing me.
What about Rutgers now?
Rutgers is a whole different battle. We just got done paying like Snooki from Jersey Shore $30,000 to speak.
At what?
At a school function.
Why?
Yeah. And then I think we paid like a Nobel Peace Prize winner like the same amount, like crazy. Just kind of like backward stuff that doesn't make sense. And it's not even stuff like that. It's just like I think my quarrel with college is even just more like elementary than that. Like just the fact that you have to go to college now is what didn't sit well with me through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like especially looking at all the kids around me who are just getting a degree to get the degree, and that was like it,
Well, why? Because they think it ensures them that they'll get a job with X minimum paid.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the problem that we're facing, like not even just as college students, but as like a larger nation. Like if you just look at bubbles that are set to burst, like if everyone has
That
an
is-
expected
Right.
outcome after college, that is no longer guaranteed. You're not going to get a $60,000 job year
Right.
with a bachelor's degree anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's just not guaranteed at all.